Hi, I'm Carrie Mayu. I'm Director of Strategic Initiatives at Hutchinson Community Foundation, and I'm excited to welcome you to the continuation of our Changemaker Chat series, where we're talking to the collaborators and the innovators who are at work in Reno County, doing the hard stuff out there of exercising leadership on our really big, tough challenges that our community is facing. And we're all hopefully working together in the same general direction of building a more connected, resilient, and thriving community for all people in Reno County. Today, our guests are Shara Gonzales, the CEO of New Beginnings, Inc. in Hutchinson and Reno County, and Jim Seitnater, who's the interim planning director at the City of Hutchinson, but also has a long history before that in downtown development and this work. So welcome you both to the table.
Thank you.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk generally around housing, that as the kind of big adaptive challenge that we're working on in this community. But then what are some experiments and interesting collaborations and innovation happening in that issue that's trying to make progress? So I wonder, Jim and Shara, could you briefly just kind of paint a picture of the state of housing in Hutchinson for us right now?
I would say it's a challenging situation. Our housing stock is extremely aged and old in comparison to state and national levels. We have a lot of good houses with folks living and kind of aging in place, which is a good thing, but would also be very helpful to help us with young families and more workforce style housing. So we have a number of significant challenges, especially in our core neighborhoods, kind of our built environment where so many of the city services lie, but also in states of various disrepair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd agree with that, having been involved in housing for some time. And our focus, New Beginnings' focus, has been in the downtown core area for affordable housing. But for the most part, whether we've retrofitted or whether we've built new, it's still a drop in the bucket of what's needed in Hutchinson.
Right. So, Jim, can you talk about what kind of housing innovation the city is trying to spur and support, particularly through the ARPA funds?
The Housing Commission has worked extremely long and hard on identifying the two groups I touched on a little bit, the aging in place, and the goal with some of the programs and things is to be able to have good alternate choices for those folks to then move out of some of the housing, which then can be updated and renovated through the great work of the partnership between Interfaith Housing and SCED, who are using ARPA funds as a way to take a house that needs a little care, especially things like weatherization items, roofs and plumbing and that type of thing, and investing to turn that house back into a higher level of service, and then guaranteeing it another 15, 20 years of good service. So we're really excited about the work they're doing. I think they're somewhere along the lines of 50 projects to date. So hopefully we can start moving that needle to take this aging infrastructure and housing stock and modernize it as we can afford to.
Yeah, yeah. And Shara, New Beginnings was a recipient of one of the ARPA housing grants for a new prototype. Can you tell us what that experiment is and kind of how you got to that point?
Okay. Well, the prototype is actually 3 small homes on one single lot. It's a vacant lot that we purchased from the land bank in the core area. It's on 8th Street as a prototype of how to go forward with utilization of the vacant lots and smaller houses and density, trying to create more affordability and long-term viability by creating a community land bank. Community land trust that will allow this to go into the future as well. And so again, it's a prototype, and it came together because we've built and operate housing for affordable housing for many different areas of our population, but the unhoused piece has come up quite a bit of late, people who just can't afford anything. So we're trying to focus on how to collaborate with the city and find housing that will work for people that might find themselves in that situation, and the development of neighborhoods. When we brought our transitional jobs program and our housing development piece together is when we really saw this prototype take shape.
So I want to go back to a few terms that we both referred to, because I'm not sure people how widely they're understood. What is the land bank? What is a land trust? And maybe what is the transitional jobs program, and what's the connection there? So
I can speak on the land bank. It was designed about 10 years ago to stop the revolving ownership of lots at tax sales, where someone would see, and then buy it, and then nothing would happen. And then 3 or 4 years later, that same property was back in the tax sale. And so the goal of the land bank is to put properties back into good service and back onto the tax rolls as a positive improvement to the community.
Well, the community land trust is not a new concept. It's just that it's new to Hutchinson. It goes back 100-some years. And basically what it is the land is held in common in a trust, and the housing is owned by the individuals, and they're tied together through a lease. But that lease creates a association that allows everybody in the neighborhood and who lives on the property to make decisions about what happens. The other piece that it does is that, again, it maintains its affordability and its viability, that it's kept up. Transitional Jobs Program is a New Beginnings program that's about 7 years old at this point, and it's designed to help people who are trying to rebuild their lives come back fully into community, but they have obstacles to permanent employment. So we pay people while they're working on those obstacles, so that and then help place them in the end into permanent employment. And it just made sense to us that building housing and having people in a temporary going to permanent employment would be a good way to build housing and train people in skills that will allow them to have a decent living.
Yeah. What I love about this project is that it is an experiment. It's a prototype to make the case probably for what else could happen around the city on different land bank properties perhaps, and kind of maybe prove the financial affordability model, the land trust model, but you're putting together kind of all these interesting pieces as a part of it. It's not just kind of a siloed approach. It's really
not
leveraging.
A cookie cutter.
Yeah, right.
I think that the hope is, and the discussion has been, that these can be developed and built perhaps inside where the training takes place, and then placed onto lots. I noted that since 2020 that there were 30 such lots, vacant lots in Reno County that came up to the sheriff's sale. So there's plenty of opportunity, not just in Hutchinson but throughout the county. So what have you been learning through this process of experimenting and innovation and all the things you guys have worked on over the years? And what have you been learning about how we can take advantage of those properties and really help catalyze help addressing our housing challenges
going forward?
Well, I think that perhaps the concept really started in the whole neighborhood designation, and it's a redevelopment idea, and this allows for the already designated neighborhoods a way in which to coalesce around housing. The idea is that not just the people that live on the property, that live around the property will benefit from it. And so each neighborhood could have its own land trust.
I think the thing I've learned is we're challenged at all levels of housing, and the land bank lots being, as Shara said, more into core neighborhoods and things like that. There's not the need to build infrastructure and things to support that. That's already there and in place. And with these land bank lots, we tend to see some really interesting concepts. We've seen everything from the tiny home concept to container type homes and things like that. So again, the creativity of individuals, we might see a little bit more, which might spark someone else. And so that's exciting to me. We also had a study from a group from KU 5 or 6 years ago, and styles of homes that could be built on those types lots and sizes and things. So that's our overall vision and hope, is we can start to see and start to help people be able to do these things by providing them not only the space on the lot, but the idea or the plans or the things that would make it happen.
Well, and I think it's been really important. The city has developed this process because it used to be that some of the codes that were in place, such as density and landscaping and all of that, became such a detriment to trying to develop on those, and they're narrow lots a lot of times, or odd lots. And so they have changed their codes in order to accommodate this, because that's what they believe in, and that's just been incredibly beneficial. It allows for, on a vacant lot, you have infrastructure. One of the greatest problems we have in development right now, or has been since World War II, has been the spreading out into the suburbs and taking up more and more land, and for the cities that meant an increase in city services and maintaining of city services, to the point where we have a piece of land that would require so much infrastructure in it that it doesn't make sense to develop on it. Whereas when you come back into the core areas, it already has the infrastructure. So between the land bank and the infrastructure already in place, you're now looking at affordable. That really helps make it affordable. So I think that their adoption of different codes has really made a difference. And will increase the creativity for them.
Yeah, we actually created a whole zoning district for established houses, because for a while there, because of, as Shara said, narrow lots, setbacks, things like that, it was hard for someone to put a patio or a deck onto a house and things. So the R6 was a way to try to allow more things so that people would invest and feel comfortable and be able to do the things they wanted to do on their property.
Well, and an example too, we're calling these small homes, not tiny homes, only because tiny homes often in people's minds are the ones that are like maybe 125 square feet to 200 square feet. Not that that can't be done or it should be done. It's just these small homes are about 558 square feet, but we can put 3 of them on one property. And this whole project actually started, if I really go back to where the collaboration started, it goes back to the townhomes of Santa Fe, across from Dillon's on 5th Street, where the city came in and bought up vacant houses and vacant lots that were in horrible shape. And then we came in and built the townhomes of Santa Fe there. There's 12 units on an acre, basically.
Yeah, so I think this is the case on 8th Street too, where, well, maybe not, but on the Santa Fe townhomes, there were 3 houses that were blighted, 3 or 4 houses. And when those were taken out, on that same acre of property, you got 8 townhomes? 12 townhomes. So you're making even more productive use of that same space.
And it was really important to one of those key demographic areas that we struggle with what's called workforce housing. But those are designed for people with nice jobs, and they can not be, they can make more money than what a traditional low-income housing location.
It used to be in housing everywhere, really, that people of all means live together. And that just has, as we've moved into the more suburban areas, has changed a lot. And so that was an actual experimenting. Will people actually come back to the downtown area that are median income folks? And we are full all the time with people requesting, because you can also take advantage of all of the downtown activities. Stores across the street, there's a cleaner and laundry, there's places to, activities to go to, those kinds of things within walking distance where you don't even have to drive.
Right. And you got, in that case, you got a grocery store literally across the street. It's a pretty nice location. Yeah. So, Jim, the city has done a lot of work over the years to kind of incrementally make it easier, like reduce the barriers for infill. What's the next thing that, like, if you could build out your kind of infill toolkit even more, or leverage the land bank properties even more, what's next on the city's bucket list or action plan?
Well, just funding and partnerships are key, and we're really happy with the partnerships that are coming about through the ARPA monies, and we think that's going to be so successful and tell a great story that hopefully we can find a dedicated funding source so that we can go year to year to year knowing that we can build housing, or we can assist developers in building houses. We could build 200 houses a year for 20 years and still be behind where we're supposed to be. And that's a scary thought, but it's like the elephant, one bite at a time. But so there's a lot of things that we're blessed through the ARPA programs, and I think with good stewardship and these great projects, hopefully the community will see that need, that we need to invest in housing so that we new jobs, new people. We just to bring the community into the competitive community we've always been. We need to attack our housing situation and make it better.
Yeah. And Shara, what's your next prototype you want to?
Well, I don't know about prototype. I just think that the hope here has always been to create a way in which people come back into community, because everybody has a unique gift to give, no matter where on the income scale they are, and that the cost of not including everybody is becoming more and more burdensome. So the whole idea is that we can create manufacturing of these houses that train people. There is a shortage and a coming shortage of people that are in heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electric, all of these things that make good livings for people, but there's not a way in which for them to re-enter into the workforce. So by doing manufacturing of these homes, and we're building these homes with what's called SIP panels, which is structurally insulated panels, which are environmentally sound. They are thickly insulated, so you're looking at creating homes that won't take a lot to operate in terms of utilities. But those are cut to design and then assembled. And we're working on developing the training program that would go with it. So ultimately, we started with people who had no homes or jobs, and now we're looking at creating jobs that will give people homes.
Very cool. So, Hutchinson Community Foundation's mission is to inspire philanthropy, collaboration, and innovative leadership to strengthen Reno County communities. And I'll focus in on that collaboration and innovative leadership piece. And know that that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work and time to collaborate. It takes work and time to kind of get above the daily grind to figure out how do we innovate, how do we look at things in a different way. And the Community Foundation has come to kind of understand that whenever possible, how do we give the gift of collaboration and innovation to our partners and to the community to help continue making progress on what we care about most and these tough challenges. So I wonder what would it be helpful for you both to have that would spur more learning or progress or innovation or collaboration together? What would that look like?
Well, I think as we've discussed that each lot in this concept is different. And so the design for one type of house is going to probably need to be a different design or an adaptation of that design to fit the lot. And I think that it would be very helpful to have what's called pre-development funds as a nonprofit housing developer, a CHODO. That's the biggest obstacle we have to developing housing, which is, can you figure out whether or not this is going to work or not? Can you get the new architectural designs? Can you get a survey? Do you know what the environmental impact on that piece of property is? And those are the funds that for-profit developers often have, but since we're not making profit to set aside monies, those pre-development funds, especially for an adaptation of an architectural design, I think would be great.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Kind of goes along with the idea of the plans that we could maybe help someone with, or yeah, I think that would be the best use of those funds.
Yeah, kind of giving projects and people a head start on what might be possible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I think these collaborations and things, but how we adaptively reuse the space that we have, the environment that's already built. I mean, we've seen that downtown with how buildings that once were full of offices need to be residences. So the markets change, the world's change, the technology changes, but so many of these great buildings we have throughout the community, if we can adaptively reuse them for a new life, and I think the community really gains from that.
Yep. We've got to be creative with what we have.
Well, we do, and we see it. I mean, think of the Kmart building now. Think of the old Dillons at 30th and Plum. I mean, those are great examples of how that vision and how repurposing and giving those buildings new life really aids and makes the community better.
Yeah, it's all exciting.
And I just want to say that I didn't mention with the townhomes in Santa Fe, but the Community Foundation was a partner and a collaborator in that project. And so there are different forms of collaboration that can come into this project.
Yeah. And the city was a partner on that one too, with the homes.
Exactly.
Yeah, that took a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah, I think we're really lucky with our Community Foundation, because I think they're in background or part of a lot of the good things
Yes.
that happen.
Yes.
So thank you.
Be a catalyst. Try and make things happen. I appreciate that. So last question. Over the last few years, especially, three words have come to the surface, especially among our nonprofit partners, of what kind of community we're trying to build, and that's been connected, resilient, and thriving. And so I wonder, what does that look like to you? How would you know if we have achieved a connected, resilient, and thriving community in Hutchinson?
I would say you'll see that in the collaborations that happen. And collaboration isn't necessarily collaboration for collaboration's sake. You start to see people pool around certain issues, one of which would have been the treatment facility, those kinds of things, or the building on the old Dillon's building. And I just think that to me, the times we're in require us to be flexible. The words are flexible and adaptable. And if we can do those things, then we can be resilient, and then we will connect the pieces that need to be there.
In my mind, I think of living wages and jobs that provide living wages for families that I knew and grew up early in my career and lifetime in Hutchinson. And also just new housing starts, new adaptable housing situations. I think we can see those kinds of things and evaluate that through measurable things of that nature.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I appreciate you both, your time here today, but also just your many years of dedication to our community on this issue and others. But your leadership and your innovation and your collaboration is all very appreciated. So hopefully we can continue to partner and chip away at this elephant of housing together.
It is an elephant.
It is.
Big elephant, yeah.
Thanks.
So until next month, we hope you all continue to make connections and that you stay curious and you help keep us moving in that general direction of a more connected, resilient, and thriving community. Thank you.